nature. We'll have team members who will give that out for you. If you're selling a particular product, you can set up a table and sell a particular product. So it's a great way to interact with the community directly and get that word out. And that one person will take this and take it to their community, and 3 or 4 other people say, well, what's that? What do you have? And that's even more of a marketing opportunity for sponsors.
So how many fights should we expect to see on October 26th?
Generally, I have, I don't want to keep them folks there all night, but we usually have at least maybe 8 to 10 bouts, and that doesn't even include the amateur. So we'll have 3 to 4, amateur fights, and then we'll have 8 to 10 professional fights. They're 4-rounders, so, it's not as long as people would think. You're not there all night. They're action-packed. They go quickly, but we want to give you your money's worth. We don't want to get you there and not keep you entertained and show you some really good boxing.
Some of the boxers that you have coming in, are they kind of like new? Are they older, experienced, or how do you kind of like put them together, being that you're the matchmaker?
Most of the definitely you try to match up experienced fighters with experienced fighters. Now, we do have some guys who are pro debuters, and usually you'll match them up with guys who may have had 2 or 3 fights. Correct. So you'll have a fighter who it may be his first time fighting professionally. Now, he's fought amateur, but this may be his first professional fight. So you link him up with somebody who's had 1 or 2 fights, or someone who else is making their pro debut. But the experienced fighters, you usually try to balance it out. If they haven't had many wins, you want to make sure you match them up with someone who hasn't had as many wins, but just as experienced, because you want the fights to last. You'll have that first round knockout, which is exciting, but when you get it consistently, that can teeter the crowd a little bit. So you want to make sure you have some action-packed fights.
When you have these fights, how do Bellonora gets hyped up? I mean, because when you see all this going on, and all this, and your production made this possible, right, how does that make you feel inside?
Excited, definitely on a high all night, and it's a lot of adrenaline. Like, you used a great word for that, because it's stressful and it's exhausting putting everything together before, but it seems like that night all of that goes away when you have a show that flows and goes well, and my team is excited about the show. It makes it a wonderful experience, and that's what keeps me going. That excitement, that adrenaline that I get that night of putting a great production on, and actually having people come up to me saying, this was a great show, this is the best show you've had. And it seems like every show we have, it gets better and better, and that's the goal of World of Champions. It's never been a situation where they're like, well, that last show you had was probably better than this one. Every time we have people say, this was even better, and that's what we're working towards. Every show you have that we have, we want it to be better and better and better, and hopefully we'll break through the ceiling. We will always keep our audience on edge, because that's what's going to keep them coming back. If they already predict what's going to happen, they know what the show's going to be about, they'll pick and choose. I want them to be so excited where it's to the point where I don't know what's going to happen this time. I need to go. I don't want to miss out on it. And so that's what we do. It provides that excitement for me to be able to provide that type of entertainment for our World of Champions fans.
You seem to have a lot of energy.
You need a lot of energy.
Being a female boxing promoter, how do you feel you're respected from the male promoters?
I didn't come into it automatically thinking that they would respect. A lot of time I think I got a lot of the reception was I wouldn't be here long, just to see kind of if I was going to stick it out. And I've really endured. And like I said, I've endured because of the support of my family and the World of Champions team. I think I'm slowly building that respect, because whenever you get to a point where people specifically say, I love the way you do business, let's continue to do business, whatever you need, let us know. We want to consistently work with you. That's what it's about. It doesn't really matter what people think of me, as long as they can say, World of Champions, Bellonora McCallum, that whole World of Champions team, they do a fantastic job. They're professional people. We want to continue to work with them. That's the respect that I want. All the other stuff will come. As I slowly build and World of Champions gets out there and the world knows about World of Champions, that respect will come. My concern is making sure people respect the way we do business and acknowledge it.
That process that is coming through, do you feel like it's coming fast, or slow?
I would say it's consistent. It's not too slow. It's not going really fast. I think it's going at the pace that it needs to, so that I'm prepared. Because if it shoots to the top, I won't be prepared, and that's how you end up back at the bottom. I want it to be, and I've been told by my family and team members, because I think sometimes I do want it to go really fast and go ahead and let's get to the top. But I think it's appropriate to take your time, know what the struggle is to get to the top, and once you're at the top, you appreciate it and you stay there a lot longer, because you've actually built and you've really learned the process, and you knew what it took to get there. So I think that it's going at a consistent pace right now, where it's slowly building. We're slowly letting the public know we're here. Soon folks are going to catch on. By and by, we have folks catching on, and eventually we'll be at the top.
Being this is your short period of time, what would you consider to be one of your biggest issues that you had to face, and how did you handle it?
The biggest issues are matchmaking. That's a huge issue, because when you first starting out, I didn't know a lot of fighters. I didn't know a lot of managers. So I was kind of stuck with just everybody who was around in the area. And while they're good people, you want to expand out. And so I think it just took introducing yourself, networking, making calls, researching, finding where other boxing gyms are outside of the state. And it kind of went with each other. When you work with one person, they like the way you work, they refer you to somebody else. And eventually people, in the name of World of Champions is getting out there, a lot of times they'll go on the website, WSC's website, and they'll go on the Boxing Commission's website and see that I'm doing a show, or just contact me and say, hey, I would love to work with you. I've heard good things. So I would say the challenge was actually introducing myself to people in the industry, finding out who you can trust, who you can't trust, and matching fights, and overcoming that. And that's how I overcame it, just consistently staying with it, introducing myself, and paying close attention. You have to listen a lot of times so you can find out who's for you, who's against you, that type of situation.
You made a statement that you can trust and you can't trust. What do you mean by that?
I mean, everybody, it's a business.
Correct.
It's a business. And so a lot of times, if it's not beneficial for World of Champions, you have to be careful with things of that nature, because a lot of times people will be so excited, but it may not be a benefit for both parties. And so you automatically, I have one of those spirits where everybody should be trusted and everybody should be, given that opportunity. But every once in a while, you have to step back and really evaluate. And others may not mean do anything intentionally or doing it on purpose, but that's why it's my responsibility to make sure that I evaluate the entire situation and make sure it's a benefit not only for that person but World of Champions, and make sure that we're getting the coming out on top in the situation, and that it's a way for us to grow and develop, that we're not staying stagnant. So that's what I mean by things you can trust and can't trust, situations you can trust and situations you may not be able to trust, where it may sound good from the outside, but once you get in, it's not what you thought it would be. Those type of situations.
What do you feel is the biggest difference between an amateur fighter and a professional fighter?
Headgear. Professional fighters don't use headgear. Professional fighters' gloves are 10-pound gloves, whereas 10-ounce gloves, not pounds, 10-ounce gloves, whereas amateur fighters, theirs are larger. There are quite a few changes in rounds. Amateur fighting is 3 rounds, whereas professional usually 4, and the time is usually 2 minutes. Whereas professional is 3 minutes. So there's some changes in there, not major changes, but when you step into a ring as a professional, you got to be ready.
I know the fight is on October 26th. Where is it being held at?
Center Stage at NODA. That's off of 2315 North Davidson Street. So in the NODA area. If you're from Charlotte, you know what NODA is. If you're not, 2315 North Davidson Street.
Are you excited?
It's very, can't you tell? I'm very excited about it. It's about 2 weeks away. So just getting everything wrapped up and finalized.
What would you say to our viewing audience? Why should they come and get involved into boxing?
Boxing is a sport. It's an exciting sport. It's 2 females or males really getting in the ring and showing their skills. And that's what it's about. It's building. It's really building their skills and showing that they are athletes. No different from football or basketball. These are athletes that are getting in the ring and showing their skills and ability to really box and the techniques of boxing. So I would say if you're into a night of boxing, if you've never experienced boxing, there's a difference from watching it on television and there's a difference from watching it live. It's totally different. You're so engaged. You're engaged in the announcer. You're engaged in the ring girls. You're engaged in the excitement all around you. If you don't know about boxing, you could just listen to people who are around you that are familiar with it, and they'll talk about the techniques and, oh, I love the way this fighter is doing this and this fighter is doing that. It's a great atmosphere. Not only do you have boxing, but there's music and there's so many things that we do to keep our crowd engaged and excited about the event. Give it one time, and I promise you will be back every time because boxing is great. It's a great sport.
What type of advice would you give to some of the young kids in our community, both male and female, that wants to get involved in a sport like boxing? What type of advice would you give them?
I would say make sure that you are dedicated. Boxing is a sport where you have to be consistent. You have to be dedicated. You have to be willing to put in the work. Don't be so concerned with money up front. A lot of times you have fighters who are really concerned about getting money here, getting money there. If you notice back in the day, Tyson, Holyfield, these fighters didn't get paid nearly as much as fighters are getting paid now, and they fought just as hard. If you're a great fighter, it's going to show, and you're going to get the pay for it. But you have to put in the work first. Don't get into boxing as a get rich quick type thing. You'll make a couple dollars here and there, but you could get hurt in the process. So you only get in boxing if you're going to be committed to training, if you're going to be committed to that endurance of taking fights that may not pay this much, taking fights that you may not win. But you have to go into the ring every time with that attitude of, I can beat this guy. Never walk into a ring with the attitude of defeat and I'm just coming to get paid. That's the wrong reason to be in this boxing industry. We have to bring it back to where it originally started, where you have two people in the ring that are going at it, showing their skills, showing that this is truly a sport. That's what it's about. And that's what I recommend to anybody who's thinking about getting into boxing, young or old.
How do you get that individual to believe in himself, especially as a boxer who may see another boxer come in that may look intimidating?
Develop your own style. Be your own person. That boxer more than likely is just as nervous and scared as that person is, as the actual boxer who's walking into the ring. They're both walking into the same situation. The difference is they just have confidence. And that's what it is. You're going to have to create that own confidence in yourself that whatever happens, I've given it up my all and I'm going to go as hard as I can. And also it's important to make sure that you have a team around you that's going to match you up evenly. I'm not saying because you have a positive attitude and you go hard to get in with a killer if you're not ready for a killer. You make sure you know what you're prepared for. Make sure your trainer knows what you're prepared for. And just make sure that the confidence will come when you get in the ring and you really are confident in the skills that you have.
We're running out of time. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Bellonora. Where is that event coming October 26th?
Center stage at NOTA 2315 North Davidson Street.
Let's go out here and support the world champion. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Lumberjack, hit him with that double jab. These other boxes garbage. You can say I'm taking out the trash. I enter the rain to bring pain. And these lame boxes gon' feel like got a lot of pain in my brain. So now my hands insane. From which say I'ma grind hard so y'all don't forget my name. We can rumble like all day, but I don't think y'all can hang, boy. Heavy hands like Tyson. You better guard your face, boy. The lumberjack with me. And he don't like defeat. If he win, he gon' eat. So he ain't trying to get beat. Y'all dudes gon' envy. That's the cost of being me. And my standards too high. May salute me like a chief. I'ma work my way up like the clock 6 to 3. Gorilla with these hands, I'll beat in your brain. Wanna check me, go against me. You run around the ring like a track meet. I'm turned up